Hi, everyone. Let's get started talking about public opinion and persuasion. That's chapter 7 in your book, and then we'll move into chapter 8. So, public opinion, of course, is what everyone's thinking about and their attitudes and ideas about something. So, it's the collective expression of opinion of many individuals that form a group, and they form this group by common aims, their ideas, aspirations that they have in their lives. So usually it's a group of people that have a similar attitude on a very specific topic. So I might be in a public opinion group, on one topic, and then I would maybe be in a different public opinion group on a different topic. So there are three aspects of how public opinion is formed. First, society is passive. We don't usually go out a lot, go out on a limb to express our opinions. A lot of people don't really seek out information. They're waiting for that information just to come to them. So they're seen as being passive. And as you know, we're very segmented and divided as well. You know that from just listening to anything and any political coverage that's happening in our country and cultural coverage, how divided we are as a country. So let's think first about how do people form their opinions? What influences them to make their opinions? And of course, those things, it's very personal. It's based upon all of our life stories so far, our backgrounds, what we've experienced in our life. Also, the culture that we were raised in, our education level, our family, our religious background, the social class that we're in, and our race. So all those things change the way that we all view different things. And believe me, none of us think the same way. So, first of all, we have opinion leaders. This is a photo of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., of course, who was a very strong and famous opinion leader. He's an example of a formal opinion leader. We have, any type of politician would be governor, president, also pastors or priests, coaches, teachers. A lot of these, different places different people can be opinion leaders. And they're usually an opinion leader on a specific topic. So the flow of opinion, there's several different theories about this. One of the older ones is the two-step flow model. And that is, you can see over here, the opinion leader. So the opinion leader is getting his or her information from the mass media, from whatever sources they're using. It goes to them, and then they influence those around them. So that's one of the older ones. And our next theory kind of piggybacks off of this theory. And that is the multi-step flow of opinion. Basically, an opinion leader would get all kinds of massive amounts of information. And it might just be on certain topics that they're really interested in, but they get really informed about those topics. And then so here they are, opinion leaders, and then they influence those around them. And so, like, person number 3 here is getting information from a media channel, from maybe they're listening to an opponent of what they believe about a certain issue, and then a supporter. So they're getting information from a lot of different sources and not just one source. And the theory is that someone who's attentive, they will rely on an opinion leader to kind of summarize and synthesize the information for them. So they're interested, but they're not going to go through all the necessary digging and research to get all that information. So they're relying on an opinion leader. Where the inattentive public is just pretty much unaware, and they're apathetic, and they're kind of outside that opinion formation process. Then we have the in-step theory. This is where, again, individuals are seldom influenced by just one opinion leader, and they interact with many different leaders. So could be an opinion leader who is getting information from the mass media, and then they're giving it to other publics as well. But we're getting information from a lot of different opinion leaders and not just one. And then there's the diffusion theory, and this looks very similar. This is just the 5-step adoption process that we looked at last week. One thing I'm not going to repeat it all. One thing I want to build upon, though, is that usually steps number 1 and 2, people are getting their information from media about those steps. So, for example, I gave you the example of my purchase of an Alexa Echo, and I was getting a lot of the information online from media. And then steps 3 and 4 were more evaluative. And that's where I was getting information from friends and family who might have the products, what they thought of it, different reviews online, that type of thing. And then basically it was an individual decision based upon, all the information I had gathered. So this is the same thing with the diffusion theory. It's the same way with an adoption process of a product, or how we think about a certain issue. So PR will attempt to either persuade people to change an opinion. It might help them solidify an unformed or an undeveloped opinion about something, or it might reinforce an existing opinion. And basically, there are 3 kinds of opinions. There's the unfavorable, someone who's against you. And if someone has that viewpoint, they are the hardest to convert to your issue or point of view. And then there's the uncommitted or neutral. They're not easy to convert. They are more passive and indifferent. This could be the silent majority or the swing vote or independent voter that you hear about. Or there's the favorable, the ones that are easy to reinforce. They're often, though, the most forgotten or ignored in a PR campaign. You forget to reinforce those who already agree with you, because you've all heard the adage that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So just because someone's not complaining, they're agreeing with you, you're not hearing from them, but you also want to keep their goodwill. So you want to remember to keep them involved in your campaign that you're promoting. So that leads us to the theory of cognitive dissonance, which I think is a really important theory for us all to know about. And this is that you'll see it in our culture all the time. People avoid information that is opposed to their own point of view, and they tend to seek out information that is already in support of their attitudes. So maybe they already have their Facebook page set up where they're only getting their information from the sources that give them the viewpoint they already have. It makes them feel good. It makes them think everyone's agreeing with them. So they're not hearing any other viewpoints because it's too uncomfortable for them. They want to avoid that theory of cognitive dissonance. They want to avoid that disturbance that causes them that dismay, and it causes them to feel bad. So, but that's a danger, I think, because that means that people are already kind of in their silos and they're getting their information only from one place, and they're not really getting an unbiased point of view. So I recommend that we all use several different sources, some that agree with you, disagree, and maybe more neutral when you're seeking out information on a topic. So persuasion is the process of trying to get others to change their attitude or their behavior. And it can be done through influence, power of a person, maybe a celebrity, sports figure, to affect others, or by motivation. There's some kind of stimulus that causes you to act, whether it's, hey, it's January 1st, and so I'm going to set my New Year's goals, and it's to lose weight. Studies show that usually by the second week of February, most people have dropped off those plans, which I think is kind of interesting. But it could be, so a combination of things, influence and motivation. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is probably something that you have encountered in other classes, psychology, marketing, and PR. But it's really any appeal to our self-interest. So all humans have 5 levels of needs. So here at the bottom, you'll see the physiological, which is like the food, water, sleep. We need all of those things to stay alive and keep going. And then next is safety. We want to be safe. We want to feel secure, whether it be from harm, for having economic security, having family security. All those things are important to us. And then we have love and belonging, where we need people around us. We need friendship. We need family, a partner of some, to just gives us that love and belonging that we all need. And then there's esteem, which is how we feel about ourselves, our confidence, what we achieve, and getting others respect. And then self-actualization is being creative and fulfilling your potential and helping others. All of those things that come after you have these foundational things in place. And sometimes working on self-actualization helps you in some of those other things as well. But once the needs in the first 4 levels are met, then people are free to achieve their maximum personal potential. So in a third world country, they are more concerned with these basic needs. They're concerned with food and safety, and they may not be caring as much, or even have the economic ability to care about what type of clothes they wear or what kind of purse, the brand on the purse that they're carrying. So those things just don't matter as much. Where, of course, in our culture, we have a lot of those foundational needs, and so we do have a higher um, levels of needs where people are looking for other things and not just the safety and security and physical needs that we all have. So it's important to remember those things about what drives people. But it's also important to understand that it's difficult to get people to change their minds. We all encounter a lot of persuasion every single day, whether it's from advertising, blogs, friends. You might have a friend that said, "Oh, you don't need to study or work on your class today. Let's go to a movie instead." Or maybe you have a friend that says, "Hey, let's get together and study." So you have different influences from those around you. But persuasion in general works slowly. In general, people are not easily motivated to action. We are lazy. So Aristotle came up with some different methods of persuasion. We talk about this in lots of different classes as well, even speech communication class, which I also teach. But audiences are persuaded by three different things: ethos, which is the credibility of the speaker, kind of looking at who is the source of that message; pathos, the appeal to someone's emotions; and logos, the reasoning and facts and evidence that you're using to support your argument. So, as a messenger, a PR person or advertiser, marketer, all those things, the more that you can include all three of these types of persuasion in your campaign and in your message, the more successful you should be. So PR, of course, you want to persuade people to take action, to think differently, to buy something, to feel something about a topic. And what can we do to persuade? We can use facts, emotion, and make it personal. Tell people stories. And always appeal to their self-interest. What's in it for them? If it's me and I'm receiving a marketing pitch, what's in it for me? So some factors are you have to know who your audience is as a PR person. So you have to be able to analyze your audience. You need to remember to appeal to their self-interest, what's in it for them. Also, if you can get audiences to participate, go to your website to get information and vote on something. They feel like they have more of a part in it, and it might make them feel more of a to start believing more your way because they are participating, they are learning more. Suggest action like call your senator, go test drive a car, whatever it might be. The source credibility, we've talked about that. The clarity, it's really important. We're not going to confuse someone into agreeing with us, or we're not going to change their opinion if they don't understand it. So it's important that you have credibility with your source. And also, I'm sorry, I got off track, that you are clear with your message. The channel that you use is important, the timing that you're using, and also that you keep reinforcing that idea. So how would a PR person sample public opinion? And of course, we touched on this in our research section last week. But just remember that personal contacts, you can always find good opinions from people. It's anecdotal, but it does have some weight. Media reports, doing that, setting up that Google alert on any of your clients or your own company. Doing field reports, being out on the field and talking to people. Of course, checking the internet, phone calls, advisory committees, research, all those things that we've already talked about. But it's important for us to know how our audiences are thinking. So 10 guidelines. First of all, you may not be the best judge of public opinion because we all, have different backgrounds, different cultures. We're not going to know how everyone thinks, and it's important to realize that. Second, people resist change. 3, what's in it for me? Use that self-interest. People believe what they want to believe. Try to plant seeds. Start in fertile ground. So already start, with the ones that might be easiest to convert to your cause. Keep it simple and straight. KISS. Keep it clear. You're not going to confuse someone. It's not a legal document that we're working on. It's trying to motivate and persuade people, and you need to be very clear with your communication. You need to show that you have knowledge of the issue. Preach to the choir when you're among your friends. Get their support. Actions speak louder than words. You can say anything, but it's not until you put it into action that people really believe it. And always try to get in the last word. Reinforce your message as much as you can. So let's talk a little bit before we move on about propaganda. Sometimes PR can be used in a negative way, which is maybe when it starts moving into propaganda. And it's using communications to spread specific beliefs and expectations, but it's doing it in an unfair, unethical way. So it's violating basic rules of communication. So it's using lies, deception, maybe it's using shortcuts for information, or maybe just using symbols to try to get people to agree with you, whether it be a flag or a monument or a publication of some sort. Usually propaganda is done mostly by governments. It's the manipulation of political beliefs. It could be some larger institutions as well, and not just governments, but it definitely, most of the time today, we look at it as being more of an institutional governmental approach that different nations are using. So we try to say that, keep PR away from propaganda by using ethical standards in everything that we do. And I think that's really important. Okay, so now we're going to talk about managing competition and conflict. So crisis. So every week, either in discussion forums or your case studies, you've been looking at a lot of different companies that have faced crises of some sort. And that's one of the main tasks of a PR person, is to deal with conflict. So it is the strategic management of competition and conflict. So unplanned visibility can strike to anyone at any time. So it's the ultimate assignment for a PR person. So it's important to have a plan and have strategies to manage the conflict. So a crisis is any low probability, high impact event that threatens your organization. It could be your reputation, it could be your market position, it could be your credibility. So it could be an organization, it could be a prominent individual, any of those things. So a PR pro will monitor the threats, they'll assess them, they will communicate that to the management, and they'll also develop communication efforts to work on those threats, to try to handle those threats. So this is in your book, The Conflict Management Life Cycle. I'm going to touch on it really quick. You want to be in the proactive, this blue area, as much as possible. It is the environmental scanning. You're scanning and monitoring everything that's happening around you. You're hearing what your audiences are saying. You're paying attention to your industry, what your competitors are doing. You're just very aware and proactive. Then there's the strategic. This is where you're actually doing your plan and you're saying, okay, these are some things that could happen to us. This is what's threatening our industry now. So this is how we would respond and actually have a plan put together. And then reactive, of course, sometimes this is going to happen where there's going to be a crisis that occurs, and you're going to be able to need to work with managers, with lawyers on how to resolve it. And then recovery. This is the red one here at the end, reputation management and restoring your reputation and your image with your different publics. Okay, so how an organization handles itself in a crisis is really important. It can affect you for years to come. 3 tells: tell it all the information you have, tell it fast, and always tell the truth. Some different types of crises. It could be the immediate crises. This is the most dreaded type. It's sudden, it's unexpected. It could be an earthquake, a fire, a plane crash, a workplace shooting, any of those things that are totally unexpected. If I was a PR person for Rochester University, I would think about some things that could maybe happen to us. Maybe there's a meningitis outbreak in the dorms, or food poisoning in the cafeteria, or some kind of financial problems, or maybe there's a sexual harassment problem with one of the professors. I'm making things up. These are not true. But as a PR person, I would want to speculate and then maybe see, okay, this is how we would respond in this kind of situation. This is who would be our spokesperson. This is who I need to talk to. This is how I need to inform them. These are my key messages. So that when a crisis does happen, you pull out that crisis plan and you already have a blueprint for how to act. So that's going to help you avoid confusion and delay when dealing with a crisis. There's the emerging crisis. This allows more time for research and planning. It's something that's brewing under the surface for long periods of time. And sometimes it can rise to the top, whether it's through a complaint by a worker or media coverage. It could be employee dissatisfaction, sexual harassment, substance abuse on the job by one of your employees, maybe you're an airline, like a United or American Airlines, and you find out that one of your pilots has been drinking before they fly. They're all tested, but still, sometimes you hear stories about this. So it could be that, where it could be something that's happening over time, and you need to be aware of that and know how to handle it. So you want to always convince your top management to take that corrective action before the crisis hits a critical stage. So this is a sustained crisis. That's our last one. And a study found that 86% of business crises were smoldering crises. They've been happening for a long time. These are those that persist for months or even years for an organization. Rumors get spread, whether it's by the media or word of mouth or on social media. And you can deny, try to set the record straight, and it never stops the rumors. One example from years ago is Procter and Gamble. People were saying that they were satanic company because of their logo. It seems like a very simplified reason, that someone would think that just for a company because of its logo, but they were saying it was satanic, and that you could see the 666 and the curls on the hairs in the logo. So after denying this and trying to set the record straight for many years, P&G finally just changed their logo. That's one of the things that they did. So you can see this smoother logo on the left. Common mistakes when handling a crisis: hesitation. We're in a 24/7 media market. News gets out there quickly. It could lead to people thinking you don't care or that you're incompetent. Blurring of facts. It could be the double talk. It makes you look like you're dishonest, insensitive. An example of this is President Clinton during the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal. He was asked, "Mr. President, did you have sexual relations with that woman?" And he said, "It depends on what the definition of is." It's a classic example of double talk. Retaliation. You're in a crisis and you start lashing out at anyone around you, whether blaming the media, blaming those who are accusing your organization. This is a technique that President Trump uses a lot, is just to lash out at anyone who disagrees with him or who speaks up against him. But that just increases tension and increases emotions. It doesn't really solve the problem. Evading the truth. Nothing substitutes for the truth, so never lie. It should just be your standard to always be honest, always tell the truth. Pontification, the pompous talk, high-handed. It doesn't really deal with the real issues. It also can make others around you, it makes you look like you're better than them, and it just doesn't work. Confrontation. If this is something that if you keep confronting and keep responding, it just keeps the issue alive, and it gives them a platform. And then there's litigation. This is the last one, where it ensures even greater visibility of a crisis, because if it does go to a lawsuit, then it just more things for a reporter to cover and for people to talk about. It is important, I think, for a company to weigh PR advice versus legal advice. Attorneys usually advise to say nothing or as little as possible, deny guilt, and shift blame to everyone else. But litigation, if that dominates your decision making, and studies show that it does, 2/3 of official spokespersons use a legal strategy rather than a PR strategy. But it could be short-sighted and costly. Legal advice could give you a whole lot of trouble as far as your company's reputation goes. So it's better to have a collaborative approach, to have a advice from PR people and lawyers, and using kind of a joint approach when you're handling a crisis. And I think more and more organizations are using that today. So planning for a crisis, anticipate the unexpected. What could happen, and try to anticipate those things in your PR plan, your crisis plan, and put that crisis plan in place. Identify things that can go wrong. Have questions and answers written out, kind of general ones for each potential crisis, so that you have a foundation, someplace to start. And you really want to focus on what to do and what to say. And so you develop that strategy based upon those. You want to be able not to just react and respond, but to kind of contain it and try to be prepared for it. So some guidelines: be prepared, have a crisis management team and a crisis PR plan. Set up the team before a crisis hits. So you should have everyone's contact information gathered in a file. The president, the CEO, the financial officer, security, the PR people, whoever might be involved in that crisis, have all their contact information and who would handle what issue. So maybe the PR person sets up a media center. Security makes sure that everybody's safe and they help set up an information center. And then you want to have an on-site presence. So maybe your president, your manager, your CEO, they are on site to answer questions, to help people, and to provide that, presence from your company, showing that you care about what's happening there. Be open, don't be defensive. Communicate. If you say nothing, it makes you look guilty or that you're hiding something. I recommend don't say no comment. You can still say no comment without saying the words no comment. So maybe I would say, well, I don't have that information right now, but let me look into it and I will get back to you in a couple of hours. So have some kind of response. Don't use the words no comment. Know who your spokesperson should be. And if you're not open, if you don't communicate, the story's still going to be told and your voice is not going to be in that story. So it's important to be open. Be credible. Research, identify what's happening that caused this crisis. Be fast. This is going to help stop rumors. Rumors, if you don't say anything, if you're not credible, rumors are going to get spread no matter what you do. So it's better to be accurate and get the facts out. And that's what will help stop rumors. Be responsible. This is where you always want to involve your top people and have the top person respond through interviews. Make sure that you are using all forms of media so that your different audiences are reached with that communication, and be in control, or at least appear to be in control. A crisis can be difficult to handle, but the more you prepare for it, then you'll be able to handle it more successfully. All right, thank you.